Quiet Place is directed by and stars John Krasinski as well as Emily Blunt. A Quiet Place happens to be in the near future where monsters have taken over the world, and whenever they hear a noise, if it comes from a person, an animal, they instantly kill it, they shred it to pieces. With the human population losing numbers, we see one family fight for survival, even if it means being completely quiet. When the first trailer dropped for A Quiet Place, my mouth dropped as well. This first trailer was so intense, it was directed spectacularly, and I had no clue what was even going on. But then when the second trailer came out, my expectations lowered a little bit, because from the first trailer I thought it was some supernatural element attacking these people, but then the second trailer came out and all of a sudden you knew right away it was going to be creatures. So let me get right into my thoughts on A Quiet Place, because this was a movie I did have some expectations for. They were not exactly through the roof, but they were relatively high. John Krasinski directing and starring in this movie was terrific. All the performances across the board were really good. I'm glad to see John Krasinski is using his talent to his potential, because in this role, I think so far this has to be his best on-screen role. Emily Blunt here is great too, as well as both child actors. These actually might be some of the best performances all year so far, because it's very difficult to be acting in a movie like this with a premise that's set where people can no longer talk. They have to use sign language, their facial expressions, their body language tells all the story. Those are the kind of performances that I feel like people fail to recognize. A performance that I talked about earlier this year was Leonardo DiCaprio's in The Revenant. It was all about facial expressions, body language, any noises he made that did not include dialogue. Those are the types of performances I enjoy seeing the most, because a lot of times they are some of the best. After all the spectacular performances in A Quiet Place, this is a suspenseful thriller, one of the most intense, thrilling movies I've seen in a pretty long time. Actually, by the end of this film, I was somewhat sweating, which is embarrassing, but it's true. The premise is what builds this movie to the amount of suspense there is here, because when you're not allowed to make any noise, you have to be as quiet as possible. There is barely any sound, and whenever a jump scare comes up, you're automatically just jumping out of your seat. That's what this movie does to you. So I really enjoyed the premise this movie set up, because we haven't seen anything quite like this when it comes to thrillers. This movie is abnormal, unorthodox, all of those things. It's very unique. The movie also dives into how people rely on their communication, and when you can't speak, well, that can be almost like hell. We always say in this world, communication is key, and we need to express our emotions, let them all out, use any words or sounds or anything from our body that we can to do so. But when that's taken away from you, it's very hard to live through. The movie greatly explores how all of the characters are affected by not being able to speak. And it was a nice touch in this movie how the young girl is actually deaf in real life, so that was perfect casting right there. There were a few storytelling elements like that which added on to this movie's suspense. When it comes to negatives for A Quiet Place, this is where I get into the cliches we have in the thriller genre, because there are plenty of moments where we have cliches splattered throughout this movie for a thriller. There was at least a couple times where a character is about to die, and then all of a sudden, the last second, nope, does not happen. It made me roll my eyes after a while. It just got kind of old. I've seen it before. There are those things here where I've seen them before, and you can't just keep doing that. There needs to be something new. A few added cheap jump scares don't help this movie's case when it comes to cliches, because yeah, we have a good amount of cheap jump scares. Really, is there a need to have those jump scares that are false? What is the point? On top of that, when you have a movie like this, there are going to be some very dumb decisions made by certain characters. Yes, we have that, just like in every thriller, but why do some characters make some decisions? It just makes no sense. So while I think A Quiet Place is a movie that's a bit overrated, it has over a 95% right now on Rotten Tomatoes, No, it's not that good, but it is certainly a fun thriller that has a very cool premise, something I've never seen before. The way it's able to explore this premise and expand on it, it does that so well. The performances are all very, very good. Some of the best I've seen so far this year. John Krasinski, I would love to see so much more from him, both directing and starring in movies such as this. With that, I'm going to give A Quiet Place a 77%. Definitely a movie that I found enjoyable, but it's not one of my favorite thrillers of all time. This is probably going to be a movie where at the end of the year I somewhat forget, but nonetheless, it is a fun, enjoyable movie that'll get you some suspense. So have any of you guys seen A Quiet Place? If you have done so, let me know down below in the comment section what your thoughts are of it. My next review is going to be for Rampage. Get ready for that review within the next couple of days. If you are new to my channel, click the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Thank you all so much for watching this video, and I hope you all have a fantastic day.